Good evening, everyone. So my name is Jens Lievens. I am the project leader of the Governance Network. We are building the first decentralized borderless nation. To think a bit about what are the problems with current governance, the main issue is where you are born determines what future you have, or at least what your chances are to build your own future. We still have corruption, we have war, we have all these things that in the end we have technology that could potentially make it more difficult for them to happen. So this comes from a lack of participation, transparency, and accountability of those in charge. So how can we change the status quo? At the moment, there is no possibility to get an alternative for your actual government or your rule of law under which you fall when you're born. Of course, for us in the first world, or even some people in the second world, we still have possibilities. We can go and we can make something of ourselves, but for a large part of the world, this is not the case. So having a decentralized global governance model where somebody can just pop in when they want to, out of their own free will, and then take the power back to themselves, I think that's where we need to go to. We have to build something around the individual. The individual is what needs to come forward, and then we can't just come along and say, oh, here is a new governance model, everybody just adapt and we're going to start using it. We need to work at economic drivers to convince people to start using it. So what's the Governance Network? We're a global governance framework. We are integrating the latest technological innovations and decentralized solutions to build a larger ecosystem. A nation built around the individual. There is many great projects out there, like Sovereign, like Uport, building around decentralized identities. There's people doing massive things with escrow. Our goal is not to just forget about them. The wheels have been invented. We just have to put them in a car and start driving. So what are we going to do? The applications, anybody, any of us citizens can build applications on our platform, and they can start using them, market them. We'll provide APIs for other platforms to actually start and use our services within their own frameworks. As I said before, we need to have economic drivers. Now, what is that? It's an identity management hub for us. We've identified that as one of the main things what people are looking for. Voting platform, trade platform, participation platform. In general, that's more a community management platform. So how does our project look like and what it's going to do? There is one important thing. In the beginning, we thought, okay, let's go in and define. We worked for 2 months on how to see, let's put together how this government should look like. And then we stepped away from that because we realized we need to take a different approach. So after the crowd sale, we are hosting a constitutional convention where we want to have experts from all fields and actually the people that contributed to our crowd sale to identify and to see, to redevelop how a government should operate and what it should actually do. So why now? In the end, by 2025, 79% of the people in the world are going to have a smartphone, use a smartphone. Already now, we have 4 billion people using the internet on a day-to-day basis. People that are using digital money on a day-to-day basis, it goes up to 1 billion a day at this moment in time. When we look at Tanzania, for example, 66% of people use digital money on a day-to-day basis. So the drivers, the people are already used to using these kinds of platforms. Now we just have to add other benefits to them for them to switch over to what we are creating, which is a borderless nation. So what are our pilot projects? Because, as I said before, we need to have drivers. We work together with the Global African Business Club. They got access to 50,000 businesses in 34 countries in Africa, and their job is basically to facilitate trade between those businesses and the rest of the world. They've been in existence for 14 years, and they've done many, many trades over those times. So we work together with them. The head of that organization is Mr. Washington Kapapiro. He's also our head of expansion, and we are building the framework for them to operate on. It will also be a pilot project for us to identify how we need to put this in the market and how we can proceed best and build an ecosystem that can work. Other things is collaboration with communities and on nations. We have already now partnerships from past experience, from past projects that we've started with a few communities throughout the world that would be very interested in implementing decentralized identities and voting systems to manage their community. Oh, sorry.
How do you make money?
Excuse me?
How do you make money, revenue?
By transaction fees. We basically, so the nation, when we say the nation, when people actually go in and they use the technologies, they will pay a fee where it's applicable. So not for everything, like decentralized identity is going to be very hard to charge for, but when they start using escrow services, that's when people pay transaction fees.
So how do you take care of the cross-border laws for a product which is being introduced or is being innovated in one country and has to be launched in some other country? So how do you take care of the revenue which would come from that particular innovation?
So for us, a large part of what we want to do is create a trusted framework. Now, when the companies actually do trade with each other, they will still have the responsibility to do the accounting for themselves in their own nations. But what we want to do is we want to make certain that the two companies actually trust each other enough to do that trade, and which is a massive problem at this moment in time for many people and many transactions.
If you're trusting the companies to do what they're supposed to do, then how do the companies how will they trust each other on the platforms? I thought you're the one providing the trust, right? Your platform is the one that provides that trust. But now you're saying you're expecting the companies to do that all themselves.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
So right now you said you're expecting the companies to follow all the rules by themselves, right? When they're dealing in from their own countries. But then you're saying your platform is there to build that trust between the two companies. So why would anybody trust your platform if you're not the one vetting and auditing the companies are actually following what they're supposed to do?
In the end, the trust is created through the decentralized identities of, for example, the companies themselves and what kind of parameters that they link to it, how they put themselves in the market, and what they have resulted in the past. And that is, sorry.
Thank you. We gotta cut it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.